And we're back with part 4 of this week's reading of chapters 11 through 23 of Genesis for Monday, February 3rd, 2020. And this is coming from the Messianic Jewish Family Bible, Tree of Life version. And we just learned in chapter 17 that God changed Abram's name to Abraham and Sarai's name to Sarah. The AH, if we look at Yahweh, and the AH signifying breath, like breath of life, like the breath that he breathed into Adam, he's giving them the newness in him. He is inserting his name and giving him an everlasting covenant through him. Um, that's why the name changes as well, because what he's bringing about is the birthing of a nation through Abraham, and Sarah being the mother of these nations, and kings coming from her as well. So that's just a little nugget. I could go deeper into that, but we're already on part 4, and I am hoping part 3 gets in its entirety because I was actually past the 16-minute mark. So moving along, this could actually be a 5 or 6 parter at this point because of the limitations that I have on the time frame. So we're going to move on to chapter 18, and as I mentioned before, we have Parashat Vayar, which is Vayer, and that is a Torah portion, for a Shabbat lesson, and that actually means and appeared. So we're going to actually cover that whole Torah portion in this reading this week. So, chapter 18, the promise of a son. Then Adonai appeared to him at Mamre's large trees while he was sitting in the entrance of his tent during the heat of the day. When he lifted up his eyes to see, suddenly 3 men were standing right by him. When he saw him, he ran. When he saw them, he ran from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed down to the ground. Then he said, "My Lord, if now I have found favor in your eyes, please do not pass by your servant. Please let a little water be brought so you can wash your feet and make yourself comfortable under the trees, and let me bring a bit of bread so that you can refresh yourselves. Then you can pass on, since you have passed by your servant." They said, "Do just as you have said." So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, "Quick, knead 3 measures of fine flour and prepare bread loaves." Then to the herd Abraham ran and took a young ox, tender and good, and he gave it to the servant, who prepared it quickly. Then he took butter and milk and the young ox that he had prepared and set it before them. While he was standing by them under the tree, they ate. Then they said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" "There, in the tent," he said. Then he said, "I will most surely return to you in about a year's time, surprising Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent which was behind them. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. Sarah had stopped having the way of women. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I've grown decrepit, can I have desire, and my Lord so old?" Then Adonai said to Abraham, "Why is it that Sarah laughed, saying, 'Can I really give birth when I am so old?' Is anything too difficult for Adonai? At the appointed time I will return to you in about a year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah denied it, saying, "I didn't laugh," for she was afraid. But he said, "No, for you did laugh." So in this section of chapter 18, Abraham was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the door and woke up to see 3 men. God was present with 2 angels. So he addressed him as my Lord. So God was walking in the world with 2 angels, and Abraham had Sarah prepare cakes of bread, and he prepared a calf for them to eat. So God told Abraham that Sarah would have a child, and Sarah laughed because she said she was too old, and the Lord asked her, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" And at the appointed time that he would return, and she denied laughing because she was afraid. Second part of chapter 18, Abraham intercedes. Then the men got up from there and looked down over Sodom. Abraham was walking with them to send them off when Adonai said, should I keep secret from Abraham what I am about to do, seeing that Abraham will most certainly become a great and mighty nation, and in him all the nations of the earth will be blessed? For I've made myself known to him so that he will command his sons and his household after him to keep the way of Adonai by doing righteousness and justice, so that Adonai may bring upon Abraham what he has spoken about him. Then Adonai said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great indeed, and their sin is very grievous indeed. I want to go down now and see if they deserve destruction, as its outcry has come to me, and if not, I will know. Then the men turned from there and went toward Sodom, but Abraham was still standing before Adonai. Abraham drew near and said, Will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you really sweep away and not spare the place for the sake of 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to cause the righteous to die with the wicked, so that the righteous and the wicked share the same fate. Far be it from you. Shall the judge of the whole world not exercise justice? Then Adonai said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous people within the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Then Abraham answered and said, look, pray, I have decided to speak to my Lord, though I am dust and ashes. Suppose the 50 righteous people are lacking 5. Will you destroy the whole city for the lack of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. So he spoke to him yet again and said, perhaps 40 will be found there. And he said, I will not do it for the sake of the 40. Then he said, please let my Lord not be angry, so I may speak. Perhaps 30 will be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Then he said, look, pray, I have decided to speak to my Lord. Perhaps 20 will be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. Then he said, please let not my Lord be angry, so I may speak once more. Perhaps 10 will be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. And when he had finished speaking to Abraham, Adonai left, and Abraham returned to his place. So he had sent the 2 angels off, and he was speaking with Abraham, and Abraham was speaking with Adonai, and actually had Adonai agree that he would not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for 10 righteous souls, and that would be about the amount of people that were in Lot's family. So Abraham knew, and so did God know, that Abraham's nephew was still in that city. Chapter 19, we come to Sodom and Gomorrah. Now the 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening, while Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. Then he said, here, please, my lords, please turn aside to your servant's house. Spend the night and wash your feet. Then you can get up early and go on your way. But they said, no, we will spend the night in the open plaza. But he urged them strongly, so they turned aside to him and they came into his house. He prepared a feast for them and baked matzah, and they ate. They had not yet lain down when the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house from youth to elderly, all the people without exception, and they called out to Lot and said to him, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we can have relations with them. But Lot went out to them at the doorway and shut the door behind him and said, please, my brothers, don't act wickedly. Look, I have 2 daughters who haven't been intimate with a man. Please let me bring them out to you. Do to them whatever is good in your eyes. However, do nothing to these men, since they have come under the protection of my roof. Get out of the way, they said, and this one came as an outsider and dares to judge. Now we'll treat you worse than them. So they strongly pressed against the man Lot and moved in close to break the door down, but the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. Then the angels struck the men at the doorway of the house with blindness from youth to elderly, so they gave up trying to find the doorway. Then the men said to Lot, and these are the angels, who else related to you is still here? A son-in-law, your sons and your daughters, whoever else is related to you in the city, bring them out of the place. For we are about to destroy this place because their outcry has become so great before Adonai that Adonai has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws who were going to marry his daughters. Get up, get out of this place, for Adonai is about to destroy the city. But in the eyes of his son-in-laws, he was like a joker, so they laughed it off. So when morning dawned, the angels rushed Lot, saying, get up, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, or else you will be swept away with this city's iniquity. But he hesitated. So the men grabbed his hand, his wife's hand, and his two daughters because of Adonai's compassion for him, and they brought him out and left him outside of the city. When they brought them outside, one said, flee for your life. Do not look behind you and do not stop anywhere in the surrounding area. Escape to the hills, or else you'll be swept away. But Lot said to them, no, my lord, please, look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have magnified your merciful loyalty, which you have shown me by letting me live. But I can't escape to the hill country, for the disaster will overtake me and I'll die. Look, please, this city is close enough to flee there, and it's little. Please let me escape there. Isn't it small? And let me live. So he said to him, behold, I will grant your request concerning this matter too, not to demolish the city of which you have spoken. Hurry, flee to safety there, because I cannot do anything until you arrive there. This is why the town is named Zor, Zoar. The moment the sun rose upon the land, Lot entered Zor, and Adonai rained sulfur and fire upon Sodom and Gomorrah from Adonai out of the sky. So he demolished these cities and the whole surrounding area, all the inhabitants of the cities and the vegetation of the ground. But his wife looked behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Now Abraham rose early in the morning to the place where he had stood before Adonai and looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward the entire land of the surrounding area, and saw, behold, the smoke of the land ascended like smoke from a furnace. So it was, as God destroyed the cities of the surrounding area, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the upheaval when he demolished the cities where Lot had dwelt. Lot fathers Moab and Ammon. This is the second part of chapter 19. Then Lot went up from Zoar and dwelled on the mountain, his two daughters with him, because he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. So he lived in a cave, he and his two daughters. Then the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man in the land to come to us, as is the custom of the whole land. Come on, let's make our father drink wine, so that we can lie with him and keep the seed from our father alive. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn came and lay down with her father. Yet he did not know that she lay down and got up. On the following day, the firstborn said to the younger, see, I slept with my father last night. Let's make him drink wine tonight as well. Come on, sleep with him, so that we'll keep the seed from our father alive. So they made their father drink wine that night as well, and the younger got up and lay down with him, and he did not know that she lay down and got up. So Lot's two daughters became pregnant by their father. Then the firstborn gave birth to a son and named him Moab. He is the ancestors of the Moabites to this day. The younger also gave birth to a son and named him Ben Ami. He is the ancestors of the sons of Ammon to this day. So a few things about this chapter. The sin was so great. The city was so wicked between same-sex acts and all kinds of acts and violence and and everything that the outcry was coming before Adonai. So he decided to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and he sent the two men, which were angels, to Lot to take his family out of the city. And they even tried to this the men of the city actually tried to uh, come take possession of the two angels. So this was really not a good situation. And the men that were to marry Lot's daughters actually mocked him when he told them the city was about to be destroyed. So you can see that when people are warning people of what is going to come, how mockers and scoffers are alive today. Also, when we look at, they were told not to look back. Um, Interestingly, when we think about the rapture, we're not to look back. We're not to look back to the fleshly world, to look into the kingdom. That's another kind of shadow of that. But we know that Lot's wife did look back, and she turned into a pillar of salt. And I'm going to pause this at this moment because I am almost at 16 minutes.